Saturday on Denver 7, working to prevent violence in the metro.
Last year, Denver officers recovered more than 2,000 guns from individuals that should have never had them in the first place.
The event happening today, that's the first of many aimed at slowing down record-breaking trends our city leaders don't want to keep.
These are smaller yields, smaller weapons, but they still carry lots of radioactivity.
The Russian invasion in Ukraine is now entering its fourth week, while there's now a warning of potential nuclear war.
The love that I feel from it is just absolutely worth every minute of it.
Plus, a Marshall Fire victim turned to her own kitchen to help out neighbors in need. Good morning, I'm Jessica Crawford. Welcome to Denver 7 News.
And I'm Katie LaSalle. Thank you so much for joining us here on this Saturday morning. It's going to be a beautiful weekend weather-wise. Mostly sunny skies to start off as we take a live look over downtown Denver, looking out toward our Colorado high country. Some fresh snow from last week's storm, but it is going to be dry this weekend ahead of our next snowstorm set to arrive on Monday. Mostly clear skies statewide from our mountains down south, our Sangre de Cristo range into Westminster. Just some high clouds and will stay mostly sunny for the afternoon. Temperatures right now are in the high 20s, low 30s. It's nice and cool out there. Pressure dropping slightly and winds are calm. Your weather headlines for this weekend. It's going to be warmer. Upper 50s today, 60s tomorrow. Clouds increase on Sunday. And yes, more snow is on the way as we start next week. But for today, your wake up forecast by 11 o'clock will warm to the mid 40s. By 1 o'clock, low 50s with daytime highs climbing to the upper 50s to low 60s over the northeastern plains, 40s, even some low 50s into the mountains. We'll talk more about snow totals and what this next storm system is set to bring on Monday. Still to come.
Gotta enjoy this gorgeous weekend. Thank you so much, Katie. Well, breaking overnight, a Colorado Springs police officer is now facing multiple charges, including a felony. The Colorado Springs Police Department says Officer Shane Reed was arrested yesterday on 4 charges, including a charge of second-degree kidnapping. According to our sister station in the Springs, police also say they first heard about allegations against Reed earlier this month and obtained arrest warrants yesterday. Reed's now in police custody. The department's interim chief says while Reed does have the same presumption of innocence and is owed due process by our justice system, they're working to make sure that this officer is held accountable for his actions. Reed is now on administrative leave. Well, back here in the metro, 2 people are dead after being hit by cars on Colfax. Police say one person was hit while crossing Colfax near Children's Hospital. That's when the Good Samaritan stopped to help. Well, that person was also hit by another vehicle and killed. The first driver stayed to help, but that second driver did not stop. Right now, investigators don't have a description for the hit and run car. If you have any information, contact police.
Denver police are still investigating this morning after a 14-year-old girl died in a double shooting on Friday. Police were called to the area of East Montview and Ulster. 14-year-old Eris Maybury was pronounced dead at the scene. A second person, also a teenager, was taken to the hospital. Denver police are investigating the shooting as a homicide, and so far, no word on any arrests.
Well, this latest shooting comes as Denver has seen 2 of the most violent and deadly years in the city's history. 96 murders last year, 95 in 2020. That's the most since the 80s.
Yeah, and the Broncos and the cities of Denver and Aurora, they are teaming up now to get guns off the street. Denver 7's Christian Lopez joins us live now. And Christian, this gun buyback event is focusing on making the community safer.
Yeah, it is, and the goal is to prevent these guns from ending up in the wrong hands so that they're not used in violent crimes. And this is just the first of many events that will take place. Looking at those numbers, last year in Denver, 82 community members were killed due to gun violence, and officials say that they recovered around 2,000 guns from people who should have never had them in the first place, including several who were underage. This event is a safe and anonymous place to turn in guns. It'll be a drive-through model, so if you drop off a gun, you'll stay in your car. You'll have to move it to the back seat or the trunk, and a representative will take it out and disable it. It is important to note if you are dropping a gun off, make sure it's not loaded. And if you donate, you will get a Visa gift card. And this is a joint effort put on by Denver, Aurora, the Denver Broncos, and a Colorado Springs nonprofit called Raw Tools.
Is strongly encouraging members to take advantage of these gun buyback events to dispose of unwanted firearms that may find their way into the wrong hands. Additionally, responsible gun owners can help make their community safer by locking up and responsibly storing their guns to prevent theft, misuse, and mishandling.
The event will take place from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. today. This is the first event of 8. The next one will take place in Aurora on April 9th. Reporting live in Denver this morning, I'm Christian Lopez, Denver 7.
Christian, thank you. And we know there are multiple perspectives to this idea. Denver police say these gun buyback events can eliminate the possibility of guns being used in crimes, such as a shooting or a murder. But Ruth writes on Facebook, who believes that criminals are going to turn in their guns? Samuel writes, most of what they get will be beat up, useless guns. But then Blake writes, we don't need less guns, we need better education. Now we want to hear from you. What do you think of this gun buyback idea? Email us 360@thedenverchannel.com.
Leaders from Colorado's Black community are meeting virtually this weekend to discuss important topics. We talked with John Bailey, the director of the Colorado Black Roundtable. He says the aim of the event is to bring Black organizations together to find ways to collaborate.
With the pandemic having kept many of us in the house or limited in person, some leadership thought that it would be good to bring the different Black community organizations together with elected officials and just talk about how important we are as a community, how important our organizations are.
The Colorado Black leadership discussion will continue this morning with special remarks from Denver Mayor Michael Hancock.
Home values are skyrocketing, creating more wealth for homeowners. However, some say they're concerned that wealth isn't always distributed equally. Jennifer Greenfield at the University of Denver says homes in Black neighborhoods are often valued much lower than homes in white neighborhoods, and it doesn't stop there.
And, in recent years, we've seen come in lower, even in the same neighborhood, the same home is appraised lower when it is perceived as being owned by a Black family versus a white family.
Greenfield says solutions to this problem are really complicated, but she believes by investing more in Black communities, we can help narrow the wealth gap.
One of the things that needs to happen is that there needs to be significant investment in helping Black families and low-income families in general to be able to afford down payments to be able to make those purchases.
Greenfield says she would also like to see an overhaul of the mortgage lending and appraisal process, as well as steps to make housing more fair to help Black families build wealth.
Well, the war in Russia is now entering week 4 with attacks increasing on Lviv. More than 3 million Ukrainians have fled the country to seek refuge.
And now there could be potential for nuclear weapons from Russia coming into play. And here's ABC's Christine Sloan.
As Russia's war on Ukraine enters its 4th week, the Russians firing missiles at Lviv from the Black Sea, hundreds of miles away. ABC's Martha Raditz is there.
With today's missile strike just there beyond the airport, the Russians are sending a powerful message. Lviv has been a critical place for refugees trying to get out of Ukraine and a critical pipeline for humanitarian aid and supply.
Those strikes just as President Biden met virtually with Chinese President Xi Jinping for almost 2 hours. Russia has reportedly asked China for military or economic help, and the U.S. says China will pay if they assist Russia in any way.
China has to make a decision for themselves about where they want to stand and how they want the history books to look at them and view their actions.
The U.S. and NATO are increasingly worried Russian President Vladimir Putin may turn to even deadlier attacks, including chemical, biological, or even small-yield nuclear weapons to gain the advantage.
These are smaller yield, smaller weapons, but they still carry lots of radioactivity, and they're still a big step along the scale of escalation to strategic nuclear war.
But Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky remains defiant, telling the Russian government that it's time to talk. Otherwise, Russia will suffer huge losses that, quote, several generations will not be enough to rebound. And in Lviv, 109 empty baby strollers were lined up in a city square, symbolizing 109 Ukrainian children killed in the war. Christine Sloan, ABC News, New York.
Hundreds of Coloradans have shown their support for Ukraine within the past month, and today is no different. There's another rally to show support for the country at our capital. It starts at 2 o'clock. Organizers say 400 people showed up last weekend. There will be live speakers and items for sale, with profits being donated to Ukrainians in need.
Well, Camp Amachi in southeastern Colorado is now a National Historic Site. Friday, President Biden officially signed off on the new site, which was first a bill brought by Democratic and Republican lawmakers from Colorado. The Amachi site was used as an internment camp for Japanese Americans during World War II. Senator John Hickenlooper was present at this ceremony, and he says the best part of designating the new site is to, quote, it makes sure we don't forget these hard-learned lessons from our history where the United States went the wrong direction.
Earlier this month, Denver 7 told you about a problem in Denver's Ruby Hill neighborhood. Multiple people living in RVs lined the streets along with piles of trash.
And now neighbors and nearby businesses, they say that the problem, it's only getting worse.
As Denver 7's Patrick Perez explains, the city hopes to have a solution soon.
From the corner of his office, Mark Holligan keeps a watchful eye on the growing caravan of broken down RVs and trailers parked outside.
Some people are actually down on their luck, but most of these people are young, healthy males or females that could totally be working.
Mark saw the story we did 2 weeks ago about the problems he and other business owners say these RV dwellers are causing within Denver's Ruby Hill neighborhood.
We're tired of the needles, the bottles of urine and feces that we got to look at, and it's just a bad look on the street. It's a bad look for Denver.
And the problem seems to have only gotten worse with more RVs moving in, especially here on South Huron Street.
The cops that do come out here, man, we understand they're handcuffed as well because they want to help us, but they say it's like shoveling water. There's nothing they can do.
The city of Denver has somewhat of a solution to this problem. It's called the Safe Parking Program. It would essentially allow people living in cars and in RVs to park somewhere safely, and they can eventually be connected to services and get into permanent housing and off the streets.
Yeah.
Angie Nelson with Denver's Department of Housing Stability says the city is currently seeking proposals from groups interested in operating the site.
It typically leverages a temporary site and gives people a safe place to park their vehicles, but also a platform from which people can engage in services and support.
The site would hopefully have a place for people to use the bathroom and shower and a place to meet with case managers. A much better setup than being parked along the street and across from businesses.
It's, by federal definition, a place called unfit for human habitation. And so from a policy standpoint, we want to make sure everyone in Denver has a safe, stable place to be.
Mark is open to whatever solves a problem.
If Denver offers something or a better alternative than them parking on our streets and junking up our neighborhoods, we would fully support that.
The soonest a safe parking site could possibly open is June. Patrick Perez, Denver 7.
And Councilmember Jolon Clark, whose districts include Ruby Hill, tells Denver 7 that his office is working closely with Denver Police and the mayor's office to resolve this issue.
Well, if you're bracing for the cost to renew your car registration or your license, Colorado lawmakers are trying to make it less expensive for you. How soon fees could be postponed.
And if you're planning on hitting the road this weekend, we've got some things for you to keep in mind to save a few bucks on gas.